everyone, it's Britt Johnson with Boss Lady News, and we are going to be speaking with Katie from the nonprofit known as CELF and finding out more about them. As we all know, Fame Fashion Show will be putting a donation towards their nonprofit, and I thought it was important for you all to know about that. So Katie, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Britt. Thanks for having me. We're really looking forward to it.
Thank you for taking the time to be on Boss Lady News. And everyone, unfortunately, we weren't able to have Katie come to Boston because you're currently in New York.
We are.
And that is the home base for CELF.
That's right. And CELF stands for the Children's Environmental Literacy Foundation.
Great. What made you decide to actually jump into being a person that starts a nonprofit?
Well, Britt, I have a background in marketing, and I've worked with a number of consumer products companies and learned a lot through my exposure to their research and development and to the messaging behind the products that were important to consumers making purchasing decisions. And a lot of the R&D behind some of these products involved things that were controversial in other countries, but were acceptable here in our own. And as the mother of 3 children, I became really aware and concerned about a lot of ingredients and raw materials that are used for producing a whole host of consumer products that many of us use in our homes on a daily basis.
That's right.
And many of which have tremendous health impacts on children in particular, who are more vulnerable, of course, being smaller and younger and not having as mature immune systems as adults. And so I realized and recognized what an important role education has to play in shifting our mindset about how we make things, how we use things, how we dispose of things, or preferably reuse and recycle them.
That's right.
And at the time, 12 years ago, when I founded the Children's Environmental Literacy Foundation, our schools seemed to be sadly lacking in any kind of consistent environmental education. It was most often addressed on Earth Day, which, how many times a year does Earth Day take
Once
place?
a year. Only once a year.
Yep. And that wasn't going to cut it for the myriad environmental issues that our children are going to have to face in their lives. And there's a lot more to environmental education than people traditionally have thought about in terms of how our actions have implications not just for the environment, but for our economies and for our social structures and our communities. And so when CELF was first conceived of, we recognized how important it is to address the 3 legs of sustainable development. So in addition to environmental issues, consideration of economic issues and consideration of social issues, and how those 3 are all inextricably linked.
Okay.
We can't address one issue without thinking about the others. So that's a very different way of thinking about the world around us, and it's a very different way of teaching in terms of getting our kids to think systemically and in that kind of connected way, and not just in siloed disciplines like we've been teaching for centuries.
That's right.
So we've been working with teachers here in New York and in fact across the country. We've been up in your neighborhood for several years, partnering with the Boston Latin School and a number of other schools in the Boston area.
Okay.
And more recently, we've been working with the New York City Department of Education with hundreds of teachers in the New York City public schools.
Okay.
Which is really exciting because
what are the age ranges of some of the young people?
Sure. So we work with teachers in kindergarten through 12th grade.
Wow.
So those teachers are working directly with 5-year-olds through 18-year-olds.
Wow.
So we look at that pipeline as sort of the fundamental ages where if we can reach these young people, they will be better prepared to deal with these issues in the future.
Yes, and President Obama's event, the dinner that they just had, the comedic dinner that they just had, one of the issues that people and himself has been consistently trying to almost like barrel into people is that the next generation has a planet that previous generations haven't been taken care of, and that's why your nonprofit really is so important for the future generations.
Yes, and that's what we see and sort of strive on. You know, when we see these young people taking action, not just learning about these ideas, but actually, you know, putting into action things like the Life Straw campaign, which is what the fashion show will be raising funds to support. That's you know, one of many examples of where young people are taking a stand and getting the word out and becoming real agents for change by understanding what these issues are and by becoming advocates. So that's really what keeps us going. It's very hard work, but when we see students in action like that, that's, you know, why we wake up every day.
You know that you're doing it right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's when we see that our, you know, the teacher training programs are having an impact on how students behave and what they choose to do.
Yes. And the Life Straw program is basically a program that is helping to get fresh water to third world countries, to areas that have been targeted with mass destruction or earthquakes. I found out after speaking to Patty that you guys are definitely putting some efforts and some funds and some Life Straw water filtering units into Nepal because they just received an earthquake which killed thousands of people.
Yeah. No, it's devastating, but it is also very humbling and reassuring to know that there are organizations like Vestergaard Franzen who makes the Life Straw, bringing those life-saving devices to places like Nepal and many other countries that Patty Bressman, my colleague who created the Life Straw campaign program, are able to do. So it's kind of an empowering link between kids here in the United States, where we take fresh water for granted. You know,
true.
We spray it everywhere, all over our lawns, all over our cars, and in places unimaginable to people who don't have a drop to drink.
That's right.
And so just bringing that awareness and education to the kids here, and then encouraging and empowering them to make a difference for communities like you know, Ghana and Haiti and in disaster areas like what just happened in Nepal is truly essential to everyone's future. Everyone's future. So it's a very empowering program. The teacher education component that goes behind it sort of creates an opportunity for exponential growth in this area of learning.
Yes.
So,
and how can people, do you guys have a Facebook?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah. And, absolutely. It's CELF Education. So Patty can send me the link to that as well. We'd love to get that up during the fashion show and be able to tweet and get some social media messages out there because what Erica is doing is phenomenal.
Yes. And I want to thank you. I had not heard about the CELF nonprofit, CELF organization prior to, and thank you again for taking the time this early morning to coming on to Boss Lady News.
You're welcome. It's thrilling, and I look forward to seeing a few snippets from the fashion show.
Yes, and I encourage all of you people to go onto the website and find out more about this nonprofit and see how you can be of some assistance no matter what state or what city you may be in keeping this movement going. I like to say each one teach one or each one reach one, and it's very important that our generations bridge those gaps and see how we can help future generations. So thank you, Katie, for coming on. And
thank you, Brett.
congratulations with all of the great work that you're doing.
Yeah, and just if I can mention the website so everybody knows where they can learn more both about
Of
CELF
course.
and also the Lifestyle campaign. So we are www.CELFeducation.org.
Nice. Great. And thank you again.
Take care.
You too.